Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, coming to you for a jam-packed, our first big slate of the NBA season on Wednesday. Love the opening night. How could you not? With Round Ball Rock is back. NBA on NBC. A phenomenal game. A instant classic between the Thunder and the Rockets. Double overtime. We'll talk about how our bets did on that one. Phenomenal game. Awesome performance. Great to have the NBA back. But I got to admit, I am most excited for Wednesday night to have all the different teams back. I'm a league pass junkie, sicko, freak, and I am so excited to have the quad boxes back up in my basement. Gonna kick back, watch some games, sweat some games. We're going to do best bets tonight, and we're going to do that with this great crew that I've got with me tonight. Kyle Murray from Roto Grinders at KMurDFS. Not only does NBA projections, but handles baseball, golf, kills golf. Great. A monster on the golf side is Kyle Murray, KMurDFS. Joe Dellera at Joe Dellera from the Cash That Podcast joins us again. He's going to be seeing a lot more on Buckets this season. Always glad to have Joe Dellera and his boring ass name handle with us. And my guy, Sean Little at Chicago Flow, come with us. I needed more bets for this big slate, so I pulled in these three. I'll give one of my best bets tonight as well. Lots of stuff to get to. Great stuff to get into. Let's start here, which is I think for the season, one of the things I want to do is like, what was your betting lesson from the night? And I'll go first, which is I gave out Alperen Sengun as like a long shot MVP on the podcast with Joe Dellera. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. My 2-star play last night was Alperen Sengun over 33.5 PRA. Kyle Murray was also on that. And boy, did that come through, as Sengun was an absolute monster. Covered the PRA with his points alone. Put me in great position. I am set up so well as we record this at 11:21 Eastern to watch as Luka Doncic rips King of the Court out of my cold, dead hands. But I do think that this is going to be a monster season from Sengun. There's going to be conversations, I think, about most improved. There's going to be conversations. I think he could flirt with the MVP if he stays healthy. I think that's the kind of role that he's going to play on this Rockets team. So that was kind of my big takeaway there. I'm not too bothered by losing Thunder minus 6.5. The Rockets were so cold, or the Thunder rather were so cold from 3-point range. Like that's just going to kind of happen. And the Rockets could have stolen this game. But overall, I do feel like there was an opportunity especially in that first overtime, for the Thunder to go ahead and sneak that one out for me. I felt like there were various parts in this game where I was expecting that Thunder run. So I'm not going to downgrade the Rocket or the Thunder at all. I'm going to be pretty tepid on power rating moves after any single game, but like I'll do one after the first week, and I'm definitely considering a 0.5-point bump to the Rockets on power rating because that was a really impressive performance even in a loss. Sean Little, what do you know is the biggest thing that we learned tonight from the NBA, at least in that first game?
Yeah, we'll talk about the first game specifically. For me, was that if you're going to bet, I guess, player props or bet against or bet on a guy when they're playing the Rockets, who look like they're going to run out extreme length for a vast majority of the game, you better have a guy that could put it on the deck and just shoot over people, just like Chet Holmgren did a lot of the game earlier, especially in the first quarter, in the first half. He was awesome, but he was a guy that could get his own shot by himself by just rising up and shooting over guys. And that's what I learned from game one in that Thunder Rockets matchup is that, yeah, they're just going to be so big. They're going to make stuff extremely difficult. Guys like Lou Dort and Hardenstein struggled flat out because the Rockets were just massive on the inside and just affected a lot of shots that I think Hardenstein and Dort weren't really expecting. So, yeah, that's what I learned tonight. And that Durant is, once they get that sorted out with him and Sengun and the roles solidified down the stretch of games, it's going to be really, really spooky for a lot of spots. I really like Houston and what they did, and it was solidified tonight.
If you're watching on youtube.com/the Action Network, make sure to get your best bets in for the Wednesday slate. We'll talk about them at the end of the show in Open Run. I'm building graphics for it because I'm now somebody that's just like, oh, look, I get to build fun graphics. So I make more work for myself, which is obviously what I needed. We will also, by the way, as a heads up, there is a ongoing right now. This is, if you're listening on the podcast, earmuffs because you missed out on the opportunity. There's a 100% boost to use on a live Warriors Lakers bet. If we see anything, we will kind of flag it as like an opportunity here. So Kyle or Joe, if either of you have one, just raise your hand, pop in, say something. If you spot an opportunity here, we've got a couple of things coming up from DraftKings I'm pretty excited to get into. Kyle, what was your big takeaway from tonight's game between the Thunder and the Rockets?
Yeah, I think for me, a big thing I'm always trying to assess early on in the NBA season is kind of where some of these player prop markets are going to over or underreact. And I think, for me, listening to, smart people like yourself talk about Şengün and kind of seeing where their rates were last year and try to apply it to projections for, future games, that's going to be a big thing for me. I will say, I think going forward, it's more so not overreacting to some of these movements that these, recent games are going to play in the markets. So for stuff like that, I think we might see following that game is potentially, numbers coming down on Kevin Durant's point prop. For example, we were talking before we went live, KD's line was at 24, 25.5, ended up closing at 23.5. Pretty down game considering they had a double overtime game and he still finished with just 22 or 23 points, whatever it was. So I think all things considered, those are the things I'm looking at the majority of from that first game and kind of going forward throughout the season.
Joe, what did you have? You were, I'm trying to think what you had tonight.
I was on the wrong end of the Kevin Durant prop. And honestly, like part of it for me was I really liked the matchup. I thought it was a good spot for him, which I honestly, I think it was when he could get the ball. And I think that part of it had to do with, I thought the way that I kind of looked at it, I was like, okay, well, you got Kevin Durant for these end of game situations. The game's close, give the ball to KD and let him figure it out. And the Rockets literally couldn't get him the ball. And he took 13 shots through the first 3 quarters and then took 3 in the fourth and then the 2 overtimes. And 2 of them were in the last minute before he got fouled out in the second overtime. So that I think was an issue that was probably unique to what Oklahoma City could do. But I think the flip side of this, right, from what the Rockets did from a lineup perspective, I think they might get a lot of teams in foul trouble. I mean, they got Oklahoma City in foul trouble, but they're a big team. So it's going to be hard. I think some of them didn't have the best control necessarily over what they were doing, but they were still drawing fouls. Steven Adams will pick up a couple fouls just from being huge on the interior. Jabari is going to pick up some fouls. Amen's going to pick up fouls. Just you have a lot of guys that aren't necessarily the most finesse players on the perimeter, but they're putting the ball on the ground. They're getting to the rack, and that's going to cause a lot of teams to get into foul trouble, I think. So something I want to keep an eye on, and something I kind of want to keep tabs on, especially when they're playing some other teams that maybe don't have as many defensive options as the Oklahoma City Thunder, where if somebody gets in foul trouble, they basically just have a million people that they can keep running out that are excellent defensively. A different team, you're going to be in a lot more difficulty against the Houston Rockets if you get in foul trouble.
We'll do this every night and kind of go over some of the bets as we go along this season. Glad to have you guys with us. If you're watching at youtube.com/the Action Network, do give us the like button. There's a lot of you in there, and I see you. I see you hanging. So show me that love with the like button. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure to hit the 5-star review for us because we do appreciate that. It just helps. I know you hear that with every podcast you listen to, but it's a big deal, especially for a podcast like ours. It's got a big impact for us. So make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Coming up, we'll do best bets. I will try and bravely soldier through as I was invited to Nuggets media versus the assistant coaching staff today.
Did they pull a Celtics on you?
And no. Luckily, a couple of things, the former NBA players, Jared Dudley and JJ Barea, did not play, which I was very grateful for. But good player, good former D1 and overseas players on the assistant coaching staff. We were playing 4-minute quarters, we broke into a bunch of different. There was a bunch of us there. A lot of people who honestly never come to Nuggets games were like, ooh, me. So I was, played 4-minute games. The final score was 114 to 16. Didn't lose by 100. So the one thing I decided was that I was not going to, because on the first 2 games I watched, they were just like getting out and outrunning everybody. They were just like pushing the ball and outlet passes. And I was like, I'm not letting that happen. So like all I did was sprint back on defense. Guys, I got dunked on 5 times. Now, 2 of those I prevented. So I got dunked on 3 times. I stopped 2.
Nice.
Honestly, not the worst ratio.
Now I am 43 and not in game shape, and my back and my shoulder are killing me. And I'm going to go take some Advil while you guys enjoy this, which is a very important message that you need to hear. The Buckets podcast is teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, and 3 months of NBA League Pass. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. To get started, use promo code BUCKETSNBA when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BUCKETSNBA when signing up and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Plus, 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours. All right, let's do some best bets here for a Wednesday, the first big slate in the NBA. We are going to go counterclockwise as we're watching at youtube.com/The Action Network. Kyle Murray, give me your first best bet. The 3-star play of the night from Kyle Murray.
Yeah, I'm going to the one and only LaMelo Ball for my 3-star play of the night. I think it's a good spot for him here. Obviously, you've heard talk over the course of the offseason and even last about the Hornets getting out there doing a little bit more run and gun on the offensive side here. I think this number is just a bit too low at 29.5 on the over on points and assists. So I'm looking at the projection that I have for him here in this matchup against Brooklyn, 26.5 points, just over 8 assists here. This is a good matchup for assists, as the Nets were a top 5 matchup for guards in the assist category. In terms of the point scoring category, it actually was a fairly neutral matchup, but the one thing I noticed was that the Nets are a good matchup for 3-point scoring, which I think will go a long way. The bottom line is I'm projecting a little bit more volume in terms of assist production, potential assists, and also 3-point production here for pretty much all Charlotte Hornets players, but also LaMelo Ball. So it's going to go a long way in terms of just kind of beating the market in terms of where they're placing his points and assist number. It is at 30.5 on some other spots here. So I think 29.5 at DraftKings minus 115 is a nice little value bet here on LaMelo Ball and the over 29.5 points and assists.
I like this play. It's a big season, I think, for LaMelo, and a good start is always kind of important. I think he's, this is anecdotal. I feel like he's always come out and played well to start the seasons. Like, I feel like historically, I actually might go look at that later and see like what his average is in the first 5 games of the season, because he seems like a player that kind of gets nicked up and banged up and then kind of settles in, and then because he's a Charlotte Hornet, gives up on life if he's not hurt. But early on, everyone's so hopeful that things can actually work out for them that I think there's probably an opportunity to kind of get there. I think who's going to be guarding him? Cam Thomas? Do they have a defensive guy? They have no. I don't even know. I have no idea who's going to guard him because I have no idea.
A rookie.
A rookie point. Could be up and down game. I can see this 29.5 points and assists. Good look from Kyle Murray. Let's go to Joe Dellera. Joe, what's your 3-star bet of the night?
So I like Onyeka Okongwu over 19.5 points plus rebounds. It's about minus 122 right now on DraftKings. I also would play a little bit of double-double. That's 3-1 at DraftKings as well. To me, I think the Hawks, they're a little bit revamped this season. I expect Okongwu to see the bulk of the minutes at the 5, despite the acquisition of Kristaps Porzingis. I think that we're going to see a good amount of overlap. Plus, I think Porzingis is probably going to get eased in a little bit. And I would expect to see Okongwu play closer to 30 minutes a night right now instead of about 24 or so, which is kind of where he was last season. Last year he averaged about 13 and 9 in 27-ish minutes a game. But when he did play starter minutes and he was playing 31, he was up to 15 and 10. So obviously different season, different rotations, but I think this is a good matchup for Okongwu in this spot. And I think that Porzingis, not necessarily a prolific rebounder. And even with Jalen Johnson returning, I think that Okongwu is somebody that's going to really be able to control the paint. So really high total here at 235.5. I think there's going to be plenty of pace, plenty of opportunities for Okongwu on the interior as both a scoring threat and a rebounding threat.
Okay. I like the offensive rebound side of this. So I can get behind this play. I have a counter correlated play coming up in a little bit on this game because I think this line is very, very odd to me. If the Hawks are serious about playing through Porzingis, that's like an interesting wrinkle here. But on the other side of this, it's just like if the Raptors are going to continue their defensive performance over since All-Star break of last year and what they've shown in preseason, makes me a little bit nervous just because they've been so good defensively. But I do think the offensive rebound side might be a good look here, especially because Colin Murray-Boyles is out for this game, the rookie. So that means that they're going to be a little undersized on Toronto behind Jakob Poeltl. So can't hit much. I mean, look, Okongwu Hive, very, very glad to be in on Okongwu Hive. I might look at a counter-correlated same-game parlay on this for my best bets file tomorrow as well. I have to think about it. Sean, I want to ask you, do you think that this Hawks team is I know you like Okongwu. Are you expecting the Hawks to be as good as the kind of hype is on them this season?
Yeah, I think the upside is there for Atlanta. I like the additions they made. I will say all our boys over at Action are all over the Raptors. I don't see that shit at all. I'm not up on the Toronto Raptors in any sense. I don't understand the Scotty Barnes BI combo, how that's going to work. I don't love that. I actually really like Atlanta in this matchup against RJ Barrett and IQ because I think they're going to have a hard time scoring against Atlanta. And then I don't know where the buckets are going to come from once you X out RJ, whether that be BI in his first game with the group. So I'm down on them. But yeah, I think Atlanta's smoke is legitimate because I actually don't like Trey's game, but I think with the dudes that they added, Nikhil and guys being back in the fold, I think it could be really, really interesting. And if Porzingis, what do we always say? If he's healthy and can make an impact, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think the biggest thing I know everybody's excited for the NBA. Guys, I was super disciplined this year. I didn't put in an NBA or NFL side until week 4. And it's really helped my bottom line. I think just because I've been going off, I've been able to go off data and matchups and put together real caps instead of just being really excited because the NBA is back and I'm doing a lot of guessing. So tread lightly to start the season until you get some actual data and you could put together what the actual Toronto Raptors are going to look like, or if Atlanta's real and if the Knicks are really going to be a 60-win team in the East. So just relax, hold your horses, and watch some hoop, and then start actually betting real full units. I think you can wait a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. How about no? How about I want to get on the board, and I did well tonight. So no. Also,
I got you. I get it.
I will say this. I think early season in both NBA and NFL. I did not do well in NFL this year, but historically I've done better in early season NFL. Some of that is because NBA starts and then my attention span gets absolutely fried on NFL, and that's why I struggle later. But one of the reasons I actually like betting in the NFL early is you have all the preseason priors that result in these lines based off of nothing. Like it's all based off of expectation. So like I think this Raptors Hawks game is honestly, and we'll talk about it, I think it's a fascinating game based off of that. Like I think whatever your preseason priors are based off of Raptors and Hawks should lead you to bet on this game because I think it's very hard not to have an opinion on Toronto and Atlanta. We have breaking news here. If you're listening on the podcast, this is why you gotta check us out live at youtube.com/theactionnetwork every night, Monday through Thursday at 11 Eastern. Kyle Murray, we have a 100% profit boost available at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours right now. And you got a live play that you want to put out. Yes, David Payne with the breaking news logo that goes over Kyle's head. Yes. Kyle, what's the live play?
I figured let's use this boost to the fullest of its extent here. Looking at a plus 550. Al Horford 10 plus points. He has 3 at halftime. And the angle here is just simply that Horford didn't start in this game with the expectation that they want him to close. So he played 10 minutes in the first half. I think he could play 12 or 13. Steve Kerr came out today. He said that they're likely going to limit Horford between 20 and 24 minutes. So he's not going to play any more than 14 minutes in the second half here. And obviously, even a 7-point second half in that time frame would be a little bit of it surely isn't a slam dunk here, but I think at plus 550 combined with that 100% profit boost, I think the value is certainly there. And I think that the number might just be a little bit, in line with the first half playing time and production from Horford, but I think we could expect a little bit more. If you wanted a more cautious bet here on that 100% profit boost, I also like Al Horford, 8+ rebounds. He's currently at 5. Again, I'm expecting him to play a couple more minutes in the second half than he did in the first. So those are the 2 lanes that I'm looking at here for Horford.
I missed the play. It's Al Horford plus 550. What's the actual?
10 plus points. Yep.
Yeah, boost to 11-1.
Yep.
Pretty nice. Woo! Pretty nice for 10 points.
Yeah. Oh, and only 7 more. So, hey, hopefully he can get it done. Knock down a couple threes, get to the line, call it a day.
And there we go at the bottom of the screen with the siren emoji, because that's what I do now is I use lots of emojis in my graphics. Some good stuff there from Kyle over at DraftKings. Sean Little, let's go back to you. What's your 3-star bet of the night for Wednesday?
Yeah, 3-star bet is going to be our guy, Karl-Anthony Towns, 12+ boards, minus 122. Let's not get super complicated here. Joe Dellera on night two of the NBA. But, I mean, this is a simple cap. No Mitch Robinson, no Josh Hart. In the 4 games last year with Josh Hart off the floor, Towns averaged 13.8 boards. He is just the only guy that's going to rebound. Last time they played in April for against the Cavaliers, Cat had 13 boards, and that was with Josh Hart on the floor. If you go to DraftKings and just look at the rebound section, the second guy on the list for the Knicks is OG Anunoby at 4.5. And if you watch the Knicks as closely as I have, and Joe Dellera knows this, and if you watch the Knicks, OG Anunoby is allergic to rebounding. He's not interested in rebounding the basketball. Balls have to bounce literally in his direction, or they're really, really easy gimmies for him to go up and get some. He's not an aggressive rebounder. The only guy that's going to be trying to clean up the glass for the Knicks in this spot is Karl-Anthony Towns. He had 3 offensive boards in that last matchup in April against the Cavs. I think he'll be able to clean up 12+ on purely on defensive rebounds. He's going to be the only guy trying to do the dirty work for the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns, 12+ boards, minus 122 with no Mitch Rob, no Josh Hart on the floor for the Knicks.
Joe, should I even ask if you like this play? Should I even bother?
You can ask both Kyle and myself if we like this play, because I think we're going to get into it in a bit. But I like this play. I mean, unless Yabusele is going to start off with like a double-double for the Knicks off the bench, I don't know who else is going to be boarding for them. So I like the play. I like Cat. I think that actually not having Mitch might make him a little bit more comfortable in this first game here. Because like there was some commentary when asked about what his role or what the offense is going to look like, and he was like, I don't know. I don't know. But I think it's actually probably a little bit cleaner when he's not playing the 4 and when he's playing the 5. So I like the spot for Cat.
Okay. I will go to my best bet for the Wednesday slate, and we're going to go back to that Hawks game because Hawks Raptors under 235.5. Joe, you said you expected pace in this game. Can you tell me why? Why do you expect pace in this game?
Well, I think in part, number one, I think the defenses are not particularly good here on either team, but I do think that Trey and the Hawks are going to be able to push the pace a little bit more than anybody else. He's got now, I think, a lot more, like a much more athletic team this season than he did last season. I think, this year we've got Dyson Daniels obviously healthy. You've got Jalen Johnson, who needed to be healthy. You're bringing in Okongwu to start. You're bringing in Kristaps Porzingis, who's not necessarily healthy, but he does have an ability to run up and down the court, play a little bit more flexible positioning there. And I think that Trey is a great facilitator. He's continued to talk about how his assists have kind of continued to climb up. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for like slashing, quick buckets, outlet passes between some of the guys that Atlanta has. And I think that they're going to be the team that can kind of control the pace. So Toronto always a little bit funky in terms of like who is going to be the guy. And obviously they're injecting Brandon Ingram, who I think maybe does slow things down like a touch. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities based on what Atlanta is going to be able to do with really like their intact roster for this game.
Yeah, that second unit for Atlanta is going to be really, really impactful, I think, the entire season with how deep they now are. And like the way Dyson Daniels is going to be able to essentially cross one of the key guys, ball handlers, scorers, whatever he's going to be matched up on every single night. He's going to be able to erase, hopefully, one guy there. That's why I think the smoke is real for Atlanta here in the East.
So I like the under here on this 235.5. Full game in preseason, Raptors 9th, Hawks 4th. So that leans in Joe's direction for the pace. But if we look at the first half, right, which is when the starters play, we get the Hawks 9th and Raptors all the way down at 19th, despite how much they're playing full court pressure with their guards. And I think this is a real thing that Brandon Anderson got me onto. The Raptors want to play. A lot of teams are looking at playing more advanced pressure. It's not like a full court press. They're not trapping. It's just, hey, I'm going to annoy you bringing the ball up, and I'm going to make you have to move around me, and I'm going to make you burn time off the clock because it makes it harder for you to run your offense and it wears you down. And that won't happen necessarily with Quick, but it will happen a lot with the second unit as soon as Shed gets in, because they do seem to recognize finally how good Jamal Shed is. These are two teams that very purposefully are reorganizing themselves around defense. The Raptors were second in defense after the All-Star break, and they were absolutely phenomenal in preseason on the defensive side as well. The Hawks, all they did was like they went out and got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You do that because you want to improve defense. Great shooter, but you do that because you want to boost up your defense. They have built a better system to protect Trey defensively. Mm-hmm. And the Raptors don't necessarily have anybody who's going to be like, oh, I'm going to put Trey on an island and really pressure him. Now, the offense for the Raptors actually scares me a little bit because it's looked awesome in preseason. Again, it's preseason. Who cares? But the simple notion of Brandon Ingram being willing to let other people touch the basketball has me very excited. It's one of the reasons why I've gotten more and more into this Raptors over. Like I started out over the summer, I was like, come on. Like I went on Locked On Raptors with Sean Woodley and was like, come on, man. Like you guys always do this. You think your team is going to be good. And like, it's not. Like, how are you buying into this Brandon Ingram team? And then I listened to Sean talk about the team and where they're at and how they're built and the roster. And then I did the research and then I talked to Brandon and I came all the way around. And so this to me is proof of concept. If the Hawks were serious and the Raptors are serious, this is an under. Because both teams are going to be able to defend at some sort of level. We're not going to have a 121-117 game. So, and that's all we're kind of looking at here with a 235.5 number. To me, that is too high. I'm not doing projections yet because everything I would do would be based off of last year and it'd be useless. But I feel like this is way too high of a number. So it's going to be my 3-star play of the night. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think the data that you're specifically talking about, the after All-Star break data on the defensive side, I think that's probably the best data you can pull from this sort of sample, especially when you're talking about defensive changes. So I think that's a super sharp way to approach these totals, not only for this game, but for future ones, because again, the market, similar to how you mentioned, you can't really do these total projections right now because it's, just biasing yourself off of last year's data. That's being reflected in the markets too. So I think that's a good way to go about it for the first couple weeks of the season.
All right, Kyle Murray, give me your 2-star bet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm guilty of making this Knicks podcast here. I'm not helping the situation.
Son of a bitch.
I'm not helping the situation. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I am going to be taking Karl Anthony Towns over 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Bottom line is I just like the spot in general for Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, Sean laid out a bunch of it for, why it's a good spot, not only from a numbers perspective, but from a mental perspective coming into the season and coming into this game for Karl-Anthony Towns. He's stepping himself into a familiar situation, which I think will help in this game. Looking at my projections here, I have Cat, like I mentioned earlier, for 24.9 points, 13.2 rebounds, and just under 2.5 or so assists. So the model likes him quite a bit. So I'm always going to be willing to back the model. But bottom line, it's a pace up spot here. Obviously, Cleveland, they wanted to change their dynamics from a pace perspective last year with the new head coach. And that played out on the floor as they were top 8 in pace. They're a good defensive team, but I think just in general, the uptick in volume for Karl-Anthony Towns is going to help quite a bit offensively. And then from a rebounding perspective, when you're looking at his production with Josh Hart and Mitch Robinson off the floor, you're seeing about a 2.5 rebound rate increase there. So he's up to about 0.4 rebounds per minute. So in a 35 minute projection, he's up near 13.5, 14 rebounds. So the rebound numbers look good. The scoring looks good here in this situation as well. So the model likes Karl-Anthony Towns quite a bit. And I think it's a good spot to back him here in the season opener.
Again, I don't know why I'm asking this, but Joe, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because this is my 1-star play, and I'm also on Carl for 35.5 PRA. I for similar reasons, I like the spot. But I also think in part of why I like it is I kind of think that since it's not Tibbs anymore, it's Mike Brown. I do wonder if maybe he's used as a little bit more of like a hub. They try to dive into his passing a little bit more, which I think helps for a number of different reasons. Not only does it put the ball in his hands where, he's not going multiple possessions without touching the basketball. He can stay in a flow offensively, but I also think that gives us the opportunity for some assists, but it also gives us the opportunity for him to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim, which is something that he is good at if he is able to get a mismatch. So I like the spot. I think we've seen him have some success against Cleveland despite the double big lineups, and the rebounds are just going to be all over there for him. So I like the upside in really all of these stats, which is one of the key factors in me usually taking a combo stat, is that I want to see at least some upside potential in every stat that we're betting into.
Sean?
Yeah,
any
I know. Retweet my boys, man. I agree with Joe and Kyle. I like the spot as my 3-star play. I think Karl-Anthony Towns, especially on the glass, this is a spot where he can have 15, 16 rebounds, I think. Legitimately, OG Anunoby is not interested, and he's going to be the only guy that's going to be able to clean up, especially – how about fighting for rebounds? The rest of the guys are going to pick up stuff that's easy. Karl-Anthony Towns will be the only guy fighting on the glass with Mobley, with Allen, and the rest. So, yeah, I like this play. I like for Cat to have a big impact in game 1.
Just cat crazy tonight. Lots of cat here. Okay, well, Joe, you already spoiled your 1-star.
I know, had to.
What's your 2-star play as you screw with my rundown, jackass?
I'm sorry that, again, this is a Knicks pod. We took it over. So my 2-star play is Brandon Miller over 18.5 points. I like this. Kyle kind of echoed a lot of the reasons that I was looking at too and kind of considering, but I think the Nets is a very soft matchup for this Hornets team. And they're a team that, they've had some difficulties, but I think a lot of people are looking at Brandon Miller as a guy that can really take a significant step forward this season. I think he was excellent last year before injuries kind of took the season away from him, but we do get an opportunity to see him play, I think, in a very soft matchup against this Nets team, who I expect to have some difficulties on the defensive side of the ball. I think that they're going to really struggle to find different rotations. I think they're going to struggle to man up. And Miller is an excellent spot up shooter, but he's also a 3-level scorer. He can score from beyond the arc, in the mid range, and at the rim. So I think that sometimes with these younger players, when they do come off of an injury, not only do they rebound pretty well, given their youth, but I think they also get an opportunity to sit and watch the game from a little bit of a different perspective. They're able to get a little bit more into the game planning. They're able to get in a little bit more of the tape work. And I think that's really important. So now you're going to take it to this team in Brooklyn, who overall is like this is a very unserious Brooklyn Nets team right now. So I think this is a great spot for Miller to kind of come out hot. And I like LaMelo too, but I think that LaMelo's ability to find and create for his teammates is going to be incredibly important here for Brandon Miller. So I think he's going to want to show out, and I think this is an awesome opportunity for Miller as well as LaMelo in this game against the Nets.
I like how our plays are. Karl Anthony Towns is going to destroy worlds because Mitchell Robinson isn't playing, and the Nets suck. That's like the big theme from. Not only is it a pro Knicks podcast, but it's an anti-Nets podcast as well. As we dog on them. All right, Sean Little, give me your 2-star play of the night.
All right, guys, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go straight for the big fella here. Joel Embiid over 34.5 points plus rebounds minus 114 over at
Brave man.
Kings. Brave man. I'm going to go to it. I'm going to try to catch the big guy fresh. Also, in the one preseason game he did play, he had 14, 8 dimes, 7 boards in 19 minutes versus Minnesota. Seemed to be moving really well. Nick Nurse came out and said a couple days after that preseason game, he practiced in full in a heavy practice and moved around well. I don't know. You got to, of course, take that stuff with a grain of salt, but I liked what I saw in the preseason game. And then when you look at Boston, who's going to guard this guy if he's somewhat moving well? Luke Garza, Xavier Tillman. The best shot is Nimi Keita, who actually is a big athletic. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of a young Time Lord before the knees were taken from him. But I like Joel here in game one. If he's healthy, he did look really good. I think he should be able to score if he sees minutes on Garza or Tillman. And if he's locked up by Keita, I think that's a whole nother conversation. But Joel Embiid, 34.5 points plus rebounds, I think is a bit too short. Minus 114. I like it. Embiid in game one here. In a game that should be tight, should be competitive. We'll see how many minutes he gets. But, yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is. 2-star Joel Embiid over 34.5 points plus rebounds.
I like this. I like this a lot because you reminded me that Joel absolutely destroys these small ball lineups.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody likes bullying teams that cannot match up with him as much as Joel Embiid outside of Anthony Davis. Like, he's just like, those guys love being bullies. I think this is a great look, Sean. Like,
yeah, he's looking at the sheet like these guys are food.
Well, and it's just look, I mean, the concern is that he's just not right and will never be right again off of the preseason stuff. Yeah. But for me, I'm just like, look, if he's going to play, I have to assume that he's going to be somewhat Embiid-like. Like, he's going to be somewhat like Embiid.
Can't bet on flops, so.
Yeah, that is true. I do like this comment from Free Sauce, who has, by the way, a lot of bets for open run for us to talk about. He says, when it comes to Embiid, first quarter points leader plus 340 on DraftKings.
Oh, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty nice.
The concern that I would have is I think, like, I don't know what the Celtics rotation is going to be because Tatum was normally like their first quarter guy, but if Brown plays the entire first quarter, like he might smack.
Maz came out today and said that he's going to make up the starting lineup like every night. Rotations are going to be it's going to be throwing darts at a board on projections, I think, for the Celtics. Kyle, do you happen to have your projection on Embiid's points and rebounds available?
I do, yeah. I would say the Philly and even some of the Boston guys' projections are pretty unreliable for me here, just because the minutes I don't know where to put Embiid minutes wise right now.
Right.
I will say, when looking at these numbers while Sean was talking, I wanted to go back and look at what his projections would look like if I had him projected using last year's data or even the year before. And it was like a 3 or 4 point difference. So right now I have him at just under 25 points and over 9 rebounds. So pretty close to the line. So not a significant edge, but I mean, if he plays more than I'm expecting, then the over is going to look really good here. I just think it's a tough spot to project currently.
You think that the Boston or the Philadelphia 76ers are hard to project? Is that your?
That would be my sentiment. I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on the game line here? I thought that was also an interesting, maybe the spread almost tries to tell me more that we might see a bit more of a limited Embiid. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, so I don't have I don't have a good. I'm gonna have to stay away from the Sixers until we get in season.
Yeah.
So like this is one where I think Sean's advice about waiting for the data to come in is very important. Like I have a power rating on Philly. What's it based on? Like I've given them every advantage. I've given them like, all right, they're not tanking and Embiid's back, and like let's extrapolate more Embiid, and like let's what if Paul George is out, but like what if he like I have a power rating.
Right.
But like I have no idea if it's accurate. I have no.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is like it impacts all my other schedule adjusted ratings because they go up, and a lot of those schedule wins and losses get shifted. So the Sixers are annoying, and I want this era to end so that we can actually have an idea of what's going on. But hope that Embiid's able to play healthy and we can get that. My 2-star play of the night. I cannot believe I'm here. I'm on the Suns over for the season win total. I've been like the advocate for this team is not bad. This team could actually be pretty decent. And then the books had the audacity to make them 4.5-point favorites at home versus the Sacramento Kings without Domantas Sabonis. I'm taking the Sacramento Kings. God help me for 4.5. I only make it 1. I make this a 1-point line with Sabonis out and Keegan Murray. And I get it. It's like they don't have Sabonis and Keegan. Look, the Phoenix Suns are going to war here with Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks. I don't know. Like, how do I fill in that blank? I have no idea. Like, who is the third best player on the Suns right now, Joe Dellera? With Jalen Green out.
What's his name? Oh, Mark Williams, obviously.
Our boy.
My guy.
And hey, that rebounds look might be a really good look tomorrow because of the matchup with the Suns or with the Kings without Domantas Sabonis. But I am just kind of forced here to be like, look, I cannot lay 4.5 points. Like the Suns should not be laying 4.5 points to any team where the rest of the roster is comprised of play-in worthy guys. And this is I have sliced this down to the very nichest that I can. But it's like, look, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, they have more NBA guys than Phoenix has. I am forced, against my will, I am forced to bet against the Phoenix Suns right out of the gate. Kings plus 4.5 is my 2-star. I hate it. I hate that they did this to me. I was all ready for this. And if Sabonis had played, I would have been all over the Suns because this would have been like, I'm trying to think what this would have been. Maybe Kings -1 on the road with Sabonis. Like he's probably worth 5 to the spread. Keegan's probably worth a 0.5 point. So even if it's 4.5 and 5, but I'm so mad. But yeah, Kings plus 4.5. What could go wrong betting on the Kings without Sabonis on opening night? But here we are. All right, 1-stars quickly. I'll hit mine real quickly just to wrap up here. I've got Bucks -9.5. Again, I'm being forced into these positions. I have to bet against my Wizards on opening night. I'm heartbroken. But like the Bucks are 9.5 versus Washington. Unless Giannis is out, no. Under no circumstances, I make it 12. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lay it with the Bucks. The Wizards are gonna lose to by double digits to most teams that are pretty decent, at least until they find an identity. And I don't think they'll have an identity tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay the wood with the Bucks -9.5. Again, I'm betting on the Kings on the road without Sabonis and a season opener double-digit spread. What could possibly go wrong for me in this spot? Kyle Murray, what's your 1-star?
Yeah, my 1-star play is DeAndre Hunter over 3.5 rebounds. Not the sexiest play to go to on opening night, I must say. 3.5 rebound prop for Hunter. I'm expecting him to see some more minutes here with some of these injuries for Cleveland. So I'm projecting him for just over 30 minutes or so. So 30 and a half minutes is where I have him in that time, have him for just over 5 rebounds. Last year in games where he played at least 30 minutes, he went over 4+ rebounds 71% of the time. We've talked about all the lack of rebounding on the New York Knicks side here with Josh Hart and Mitch Robinson out. I think that'll help DeAndre Hunter. So I think it's a good spot to back him while you can. You're getting him for a few extra minutes here with for the first few games with some of these guys out.
Did see him get flagged on the injury report when that came out today. Did I imagine that? No, I did not. He is questionable tomorrow with a right knee contusion, but the lines are still up for him.
Yeah, yep, they're still there.
Oh, That's interesting. Okay. Well, I guess he can be expected to play in the opener, and if he doesn't, then it'll avoid, and you should be all right. Joe Dellera's already given up all his because he couldn't wait to talk about Karl Anthony Towns because he's a little Knicks fanboy. Sean, you're 1 star.
1 star. Desmond Bane under 8.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 102. Check out the injury report. Obviously, Jalen Suggs, full contact, participating in 5v5. Questionable on the list. I kind of doubt he goes, and if he does, he'll be very limited, but there shouldn't be too many rebounds around for Desmond Bane between Bam, Ware, who's also questionable, I think, but Carter, Paolo, Franz, and he's not there to play make. So I think they try to get Desmond in a role where, he's getting looks. I mean, last year he averaged combined rebounds plus assists like right around 11 and change. So that is what he does, but not for this team. 1 star. I like Desmond Bane to get acclimated to trying to put the ball in the hole. And this number is pushing double digits. If Orlando is as good as we think they are, they potentially be in a little blowout spot where Desmond doesn't play too many minutes. Under 8.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 102 at DraftKings.
All right. We got your best bets. I'll run these back at the end of the show, but that does it for best bets on the night. To see the board with my amazing new graphic, Sean Little, Cat over 12.5 rebounds. Kyle Murray, Cat over 35.5 PRA is his 2 star. Joe's 1 star is Cat over 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Sean's 2 star is Joel Embiid over 34.5 points from rebounds. And his 1 star is Desmond Bane under 8.5 rebounds and assists. It's a pretty good look. I liked your cap on that a lot, Sean. Kyle's 3 star is LaMelo over 29.5 points and assists. And his 1 star is DeAndre Hunter over 3.5 rebounds. Joe Dellera likes Onyeka Okongwu as his 3 star over 19.5 points and rebounds. And Brandon Miller over 18.5 points for his 2 star bet. Mine, which I absolutely hate, Raptors Hawks under 235.5. Kings plus 4.5, Bucks minus 9.5 is my 1 star bet. Now we have I think this is a really fun special bet to get out of the night. This is going to be, I got to label this. When might we do the half court heave, the buzzer beater, something like that. Buzzer beater might be it. Here's what we're going to do. At DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. There is a special boost tomorrow with our friends. My coworker, Shaquille O'Neal, because Shaq does a show with Playmaker, and Playmaker is a partner of Action Network. And there's a Shaq boost tomorrow. It's called the Shaq Pack. You get 2 NBA boosts every Wednesday, courtesy of Shaq. You can get a 50% boost on a same game parlay, but the first boost is really interesting. It's a 50% boost to use on an NBA double-double parlay. Same game parlay or SGPX. They require 2 legs. Total bet odds must be plus 200 or longer. That's the total. And the max bet is $20. So you'll never guess where we're going to start, but we're taking Karl Anthony Towns. Since all 3 of these guys have a cat bet, we're going to go ahead and assume that he can score 10 points and grab 10 rebounds. Minus 287. Onyeka Okongwu, if Joe's cap is on the point, really looks good here for a double-double. He's plus 286. And Kyle, give me your cap on Cade Cunningham and why you want to throw him in here as well.
Yeah, projections like him quite a bit. I haven't projected to go over this. 27 points, 10.2 assists here. Good matchup against the Bulls, who played at the 2nd fastest pace in the NBA. Last year, Detroit only 4.5 point favorites and a 232 total. So this should be one of the better game environments of the night as well. So I do think there's a little bit of maybe concern with who's going to be around Cade Cunningham shooting for him with no Malik Beasley. Obviously, Jaden Ivey's still out, but you still have some good guys filling in terms of shooters around him with Tobias, LeVert, Duncan Robinson. So I think he's still going to be fine with guys surrounding him. And obviously, I'm sure we'll see a few lobs to Jalen Duren as well. So I think at minus 133 on DraftKings for Cade double-double, he makes some sense here.
Okay. We put those 3 together. Karl Anthony Towns double-double, Onyeka Okongwu double-double, Cade Cunningham double-double. We get plus 811, gets boosted to 1211 with the 50% profit boost from DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. That's our special play of the night. Great slate. I'll throw up the graphic one more time for you guys to get a look at the best bets from Sean Little, Kyle Murray, Joe Dellera. Sean Little's on Twitter at Chicago Flow, and then the Action Network app. Kyle Murray is at KMurDFS. Follow his work at Roto Grinders. Check out the Cash That podcast with Joe Dellera. You can find me at HB Basketball. I'll have a full betting card up for tomorrow, which I'm about to go right until the wee hours of the morning. My bets: Raptors Hawks under 235.5, Kings plus 4.5, Bucks minus 9.5. God help me. Those are your bets for Wednesday in the association. My thanks to David Payne, our producer, Gifford Gold, for handling the video duties at youtube.com/The Action Network. We'll see you guys again tomorrow for another episode. Sean will, I think, be taking over tomorrow night for hosting duties, so I have to teach Sean how to do all this. We'll do that tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us on Action Network. Oh, I forgot open run. We got to do open run. I'm sorry. We're almost out of here. Rapid fire. Keelan Jackson says, I think in New Orleans plus 4.5 is a good look for tomorrow. Hard to argue since Memphis is missing 3 guards and 4 bigs. So yeah, probably not a bad look there. John Collins over 18.5 PRA for the Clippers in his Clipper debut. Joe, you have any thoughts on that?
I think that there's a little bit of something to be had there. I think that he's definitely a good candidate here. I was looking at some of the spots for this game in particular because I was actually thinking about trying to fade like Walker Kessler, but I think that Collins could definitely have a good game here, especially if Kessler is in and he's playing some of those minutes. You might be able to, stretch the floor a little bit, maybe get a couple threes up while Kessler's in a drop. So I don't mind it at all.
I like this one a lot from Free Sauce, who put in a lot of bets. I'm not gonna be able to get to all of them, man, but I'll get to some of them. Davion Mitchell over 4.5 assists. He didn't play in the preseason, and I just think he's gonna be a big part of the offense. And if the Heat offense is all of a sudden like, oh, they look decent when they have somebody who can drive and create, except Norman Powell, it's gonna be Davion Mitchell is gonna be the answer there. The Juice talks about Cat over 1.5 threes. I would probably be cautious there, Sean. I don't want to play the threes line on Cat because Evan Mobley's not going to drop off of him. He'll switch. Any lineup where they're playing Evan Mobley at 5 versus Cat, he's going to stay with him on that perimeter. He'll hedge and recover and get back out there to contest on Cat. I'm not sure I want to play Cat over 1.5 threes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And if you go back and look at his attempts throughout the last 4 or 5 games versus the Cavs, it's 3-3-2 in the last 3 games. Even if you go back to his days with Minnesota, he has a couple games where he's only taken 1, 2. So yeah, there's just not going to be a lot of volume there from the 3-point line, I believe, for Cat.
Kyle, Cooper Flag over 2.5 turnovers. Max Smith adds at plus 145. Do you have do you have projections for Cooper?
Nothing that I would feel super comfortable just with rookies.
Right.
Talking about, I will say from an angle perspective, with him supposedly playing the point guard quite a bit in his first game, I'm sure he'll have a lot to deal with there. So that was at plus 165.
Yeah.
I would not mind that one, just from the narrative angle there.
Trey over 3.5 turnovers from DeJuice is interesting if you buy into the Raptors' defensive pressure. So if you like my underplay, that's probably a look too, is Trey on the over on turnovers. Although they could just turn those into points and then my over gets ruined by transition points, which is typical for how I look at these things. And then Shaden Sharp tomorrow. Joe, final word here. Shaden Sharp points tomorrow, 19.5, as the Portland Trailblazers take on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I think it's a tough matchup. Minnesota's got a lot of different wings. I think they can kind of still throw at Shaden Sharp. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure what that Blazers offense is going to look like. You got some new pieces there. Obviously, Simons isn't there anymore, but you're adding in Drew. I'm a little skeptical about how the minutes are going to be distributed there, how the usage is going to be distributed there. So I don't need Sharp at 19.5.
Okay. Great stuff, guys. Great show. This is an awesome show. I'm really happy with our first couple of shows on buckets. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then. My thanks, David Payne. Till next time, let's get buckets. The NBA's back. Da, 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 da.